Some of the most destructive hurricanes that make landfall in the U.S. start as a group of thunderstorms moving west off the west coast of Africa. This group of storms feeds off the warmth and moisture of the ocean. Air rises then to form more storms and is replaced constantly by the surrounding air. Below all this air rising, low pressure develops. Riding along the trade winds and rotating counterclockwise, thanks to the Coriolis effect, a result of the Earth's rotation, the storm will keep growing as long as it has these key ingredients. Water temperatures at or above 79 degrees. Ocean water versus land. Hurricanes don't like land. They need open water to survive. And high pressure above it. Weak flow, or what we call a lack of vertical wind shear above a hurricane, is vital to keep it intensifying. Now let's talk about the eye of the hurricane. Always impressive from space. It forms as air rotates up and out of this hurricane. Now, some of the air that's being spit out at the top of the storm then sinks back into the center, keeping the eye itself relatively calm and clear. Immediately surrounding this tranquil eye is the most violent part of the hurricane, the eye wall. The most intense wind speeds at the surface are found right here in the eye wall, but they can extend, of course, out from the storm's center. The most destruction in a hurricane comes from the eye wall out to the right quadrant. So you take the already impressive wind speeds inside the hurricane, add the forward motion and the storm surge, and you have a recipe for disaster.
This hurricane has already carved a deadly path of destruction straight through the Caribbean. In fact, in Haiti, more than 100 people dead on the islands in the Caribbean. The first pictures coming in tonight. And look at this. It hit the Bahamas a short time ago, where people were seeking shelter, power lines down, and American tourists seeking shelter as well there, right there in Nassau. ABC's Alex Perez tonight.
Matthew roaring through the Bahamas amid torrential downpours.
I want you to take a look in the distance over there. That's the ocean, at least what you can make out of it.
In Nassau, the capital city, conditions deteriorating by the hour.
It's now about 11:15 in the morning, and the eye of Hurricane Matthew has now passed beyond us. And one way you can tell, look at the palm trees. They're now all blowing in the opposite direction.
Matthew blowing out power lines. The storm surge up to 15 feet.
It's now been raining for about 6 hours, and the gusts are really picking up. Take a look at that utility pole behind me there, swaying back and forth in the wind. We've just learned Hurricane Matthew has been upgraded to a dangerous Category 4.
Those warm waters surrounding the island country help Matthew grow even more powerful. The storm's winds increasing to 140 miles per hour.
Wow.
More than 3,000 tourists in the Bahamas unable to escape, including newlywed couple Matthew and Natasha Lamberti.
I actually found a place to sleep with one of my family members, and they had to pull us out because the metal part was coming off of the window.
Hotel guests forced to ride out the storm overnight in conference rooms instead. This, as we're now seeing the path of utter devastation Matthew has left across the Caribbean. In Haiti, the death toll skyrocketing as floodwaters recede. More than 100 already confirmed dead, and that number will continue to rise. More than 28,000 homes damaged, many families now homeless. In this southwestern town, residents are trying to salvage what they can. This woman saying what little money they had is now gone, and they are hungry. Cuba, walls collapsing, roofs ripped off in Guantanamo province. This man saying he just hopes his family can fix this.
And David, the winds have calmed here tonight, but the rain is still falling. In terms of the cleanup, they're just now beginning to assess the damage. David?
Alex Perez, our thanks to you and the team.
In the Caribbean, a scene of destruction already. Hundreds of people have been killed. Emergency efforts are underway there at this hour. And Alex Perez is in the Bahamas, where they are feeling the aftermath of the hurricane this morning. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Amy. After a nearly 24-hour downpour, the rain here has finally stopped. The streets are flooded, trees are down everywhere, and the process of assessing the damage just beginning.
Overnight, Hurricane Matthew lashing the Bahamas. The then powerful Category 4 storm roaring through Nassau, leaving behind a trail of destruction. The violent 140-mile-per-hour winds sending debris flying, tearing rooftops off houses, toppling trees, power lines, even ripping the side off this hotel. The storm surge is so powerful, boats sent smashing onto shore. More than 3,000 tourists on this popular island destination seeking shelter in hotel conference rooms. Anything to protect them from this deadly hurricane. Now, residents picking up the pieces, still assessing the damage. Thousands still without power. But before Hurricane Matthew pounded the Bahamas, it left behind a dire humanitarian crisis in Haiti. Across the country, reports of coastal flooding and demolished roads. This morning, the Coast Guard providing a clear picture of the damage Hurricane Matthew left in its path. Crews conducting the first post-storm assessments over Haiti. You can see home after home leveled. The United Nations moving in, helping residents salvage what they can. 21,000 people now living in shelters, while officials fear there are at least 350,000 in need of immediate assistance. Some government officials in Haiti saying at least 280 people have died. That number is expected to grow.
And it's still unclear when the airport here in Nassau will reopen. The long process of cleaning up just starting here. Amy?
All right, Alex Perez, horrific images there. Thank you so much for keeping us updated.
We want to get right back to Rob Marciano because we've got an anxious night ahead, not only right here in Jacksonville and northern Florida, but in Georgia and South Carolina as well. Rob, a dire warning from the governor there.
Yeah, she's thankful that 350,000 people have evacuated, but she's saying do not go back home until they give you the green light, which may not be until Sunday. Take a look one more time at the storm just off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida, now crossing the Georgia border. Future radar shows it going across Savannah, hitting Charleston around 8 o'clock, and then into North Carolina before peeling off. A long night ahead for sure. David?
All right, Rob Marciano, our thanks to you and our entire team up and down the coast. Their hard work today and the crews out there for us. And stay safe at home. We'll see you on Monday. Good night.
Hurricane Matthew still menacing the southern coast with life-threatening storm surges. ABC's Eva Pilgrim is reporting from inside the storm zone.
Hurricane Matthew continuing to wreak havoc, pummeling the Florida coastline.
You can see just how bad it has gotten here.
The powerful Category 2 hurricane showing its force, torrential downpours and powerful winds of up to 110 miles per hour. In Haiti, the death toll soaring, the storm leaving close to 300 dead. Here in St. Augustine, Florida, devastating flooding.
More than 1 million people without power here in Florida. We are part of that group. We're staying at a hotel, no power here. You can see they used glow sticks to light the way to the hallway.
The storm's dangerous center as it moves north. States of emergency declared in Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Matthew tearing through Melbourne and Vero Beach, too. In his aftermath, water taking over the town, swallowing park benches, whole streets, tearing up roofs and tearing down trees. More than 3 million people fleeing their homes from Florida up to the North Carolina coast as Matthew now sets his sights on Georgia.
Our thanks to Eva Pilgrim, and of course, we'll keep tracking the storm and the political turbulence.
Let's go to Florida now, where the northeast coast has not seen a storm like this in decades. The storm surged more than 4 feet, breaching dunes and flooding city streets from St. Augustine to Jacksonville. It could take days, maybe weeks, to recover from this. And ABC's Eva Pilgrim is right there in St. Augustine with the latest. Eva, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. The National Guard, as you can see, blocking bridges to several of the barrier islands this morning. This is search and recovery efforts are underway. Many people still can't go home. We're told it's not safe. That's because power lines are down, and in some places, the water is still up. Hurricane Matthew tearing through Georgia and slamming the South Carolina coastline. The monster storm now barreling along the coast.
You cannot stand in one place.
Leaving behind a trail of destruction.
Sound like a train hitting the house. That's all I can say. The wind was just so strong.
The hurricane killing 6 overnight in Florida. The storm surge sending floodwaters flowing through St. Augustine. Vehicles submerged. Visitors stranded at this bed and breakfast, forced to wait out the deadly downpour.
How many kids are in there?
The damage left by Matthew, catastrophic. Watch this wall of water blast right through the dunes, rushing into the city streets. In its aftermath, swallowing whole roads. Debris piling up. These trees folded over while rooftops and stoplights litter city streets. Residents now assess the damage. Hope Allen says she and her husband were forced to evacuate twice.
I don't know what's going on at my house. I have no idea if I have a home to go.
This morning, over 1 million Floridians still left in the dark.
No power here. You can see they used glow sticks to light the way.
More than 6,000 National Guardsmen and women in the coastal flood zones assisting with relief efforts. Authorities still urging residents to continue riding out the storm.
If they tell you to evacuate, you need to get out of there and move to higher ground.
Now, we did talk to one man who was able to cross this bridge last night. He told us that he swam to his house, and even late last night, the water was still at chest height. Paula?
People have already such extraordinary stories. Eva, thank you. And we want to go back to Rob in Charleston for more on the storm's track. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Paula. Boy, this storm has just broken all sorts of records, and incredible to be an October storm like this. Let's take you hour by hour through the track. If you live in the storm zone and you haven't evacuated, obviously do not go outside if at all possible. We're looking at the center of this thing potentially clipping Charleston before the next couple of hours are up, and then by 2 p.m. it gets to Myrtle Beach. That's when you'll feel the brunt of it. Wilmington, North Carolina as well, and then some of the Outer Banks. Again, the heaviest rains are to the north and west of the center of this, and big-time waves and wind piling up storm surge, and some of this rain will get up even into New Jersey. So we've seen a record surge in Savannah. We've seen the third highest surge here in Charleston. A 5 to 7 foot surge at its peak will push that water up the rivers. I mean, in some cases, miles inland. And then on top of that, you've got a foot of rain, so you've got that water that wants to drain out. So it is a battle of outflowing water and inflowing water. And of course, the wind here as historic Hurricane Matthew continues to churn up the southwest coast. That's a quick check on the big weather headline. Here now is your local forecast. Still hard to get your head around what this storm has done across the Caribbean, across Haiti, across the Bahamas, and across Florida all day yesterday, and now the Carolinas and Georgia. Paula, just an incredible scene to see this city so empty, and to see this sort of wind and water come through it is just a surreal event. And of course, we'll be here all morning and report throughout the day on ABC.
Yeah, it's been a monster, as you said, Rob, and we'll be back to you later in the show. We do want to go now to Florida, south of where you are, Rob, to Ginger Z, who's in Melbourne. Ginger, what does it look like there now that the storm has passed?
It is shaping up to be a gorgeous morning here in Melbourne. But let me tell you, 24 hours ago, I could not have stood here. It would have been dangerous or even deadly. Gusts were 90 to 107 miles per hour. on these beaches. And I want to show you how close, this close, we got to catastrophe. So look, 140-mile-per-hour sustained winds were 70 miles from the coast as of Thursday night. As we put this into motion, you can see how close we got to everyone being in so much damage. 45 miles just north of Vero Beach. Cape Canaveral had that 107-mile-per-hour gust. The eye was only 25 miles from the coast here. If this thing had wobbled, we would have been in huge trouble. Another big issue, we were parallel, right? The east side, or the north right quadrant, the right front quadrant as we call it, is where most of the damage happens. Take a look at this 3D graphic. I'll explain more. Immediately surrounding this tranquil eye is the most violent part of the hurricane, the eye wall. The most intense wind speeds at the surface are found right here in the eye wall, but they can extend, of course, out from the storm center. The most destruction in a hurricane comes from the eye wall out to the right quadrant. And that right front quadrant was, until now, out in the ocean. Now it is, in part, touching parts of South Carolina and eventually North Carolina. Rob and Paula?
As always, you have such an amazing way of explaining things,
I know.
Ginger. Thank you.